You know that little padlock you see in your browser or when you password protect a file? That's cryptography. It's this invisible force field that's constantly running in the background of our digital lives. But how does it actually work? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify the core ideas that keep all of our secrets safe.
So, to kick things off, let me ask you a question. Imagine you're encrypting a file. You type in your secret password to lock it down. Now, what do you think is the single most important part of that whole process? Is it the password you just came up with? Well, here's a little secret. The password itself isn't what's actually scrambling your data. I know, right? It's a super common misconception. Its real job is something way more clever and honestly, way more secure. Think of it this way. Your password is just the key to a safe, but inside that safe isn't your data. It's another, much more complicated key. Behind the scenes, the software creates a totally random, super long master key. That's the key that does all the heavy lifting. Your password is just there to lock up that master key. And this whole idea is the result of a long, long history of making and breaking codes. You know, the story of cryptography is really just one big arms race. It's this epic battle that's been going on for centuries. For as long as we've been trying to keep secrets, someone else has been trying to figure them out. And that constant fight is what drove all the major breakthroughs we use today. Early on, things were pretty simple. You had ciphers where, say, every A becomes an X and every B becomes a Q. But these had a huge fatal flaw: letter frequency. We all know E is the most common letter in English, so a codebreaker just had to count the symbols in the secret message, find the most common one, and boom, they're already on their way. The fix? Polyalphabetic ciphers. These used multiple sets of rules which totally flattened out those letter patterns. This is the very concept that powered the infamous Enigma machine during World War II. Okay, so let's fast forward from that historical back and forth to the modern day. The absolute workhorse of data encryption today is what we call a symmetric algorithm. That just means you use one single key to both lock and unlock your data. And the undisputed heavyweight champion in this arena is an algorithm called AES. Now, AES is what's known as a block cipher. Instead of trying to encrypt a massive file all at once, it gets smart. It chops the data up into these nice, uniform, bite-sized pieces called blocks, 128 bits each for AES, and then it encrypts them one by one. But that, of course, leads to a pretty critical question. How do you actually manage all those different blocks? The way you stitch them together, what's called the mode of operation, has a gigantic impact on security. I mean it. You can have the strongest algorithm in the world, but if you use it in a weak mode, your security is basically useless. Just look at the night and day difference here. On one hand, you have a mode called ECB. It's fast because it just encrypts every block by itself, but that's its downfall. If you have two identical blocks of your original file, you get two identical blocks of the encrypted file. It leaks patterns like a sieve. If you encrypt a picture this way, you can literally still see the outline of the original image. It's wild. CBC, on the other hand, is much smarter. It creates a chain, mixing the result from one block into the next. Now, even if you have identical input blocks, you get totally different outputs. And just like that, the patterns vanish. Okay, so if clever pattern finding is off the table, what's to stop an attacker from just trying to guess the key? Well, that's called a brute force attack. It's the digital equivalent of trying every single key on a massive keychain until one finally clicks. The only thing that stops this is having an absolutely insane number of possible keys to try. And this is where the length of your key becomes everything. And when I say insane, I mean it. A standard 128-bit AES key has 2 to the power of 128 possible combinations. That's not just a big number, it's a number so vast our brains can't really comprehend it. Trying to guess it is considered physically impossible, even if you had all the computing power on Earth working on it for billions of years. It's just not going to happen. Now, this brings up a really interesting point. You might notice that an older algorithm, 3DES, actually has a longer key than AES 128. So, doesn't that make it better? The answer is no, and it's because the math inside AES is just way more efficient and secure. It gives us that incredible security with way better performance, making it the clear winner for pretty much everything we do today. So, symmetric keys like AES are fast, they're secure, they're great. But they have one huge, glaring problem.
How do you and I agree on that one secret key to begin with? You can't just email it, someone could intercept it. This is what's known as the handshake problem, and solving it sparked a revolution in cryptography.
And the solution is called asymmetric encryption. This was a total game changer. Instead of one shared key, you generate a pair of keys that are mathematically linked. You get a public key, which you can give to anyone, post it on your website, whatever. And you get a private key, which you guard with your life. Anyone can use your public key to lock something up, but only your private key can unlock it. Problem solved.
But of course, there's always a trade-off. Asymmetric algorithms, like the famous RSA, are incredibly clever, but they are also incredibly slow. We're talking hundreds, even thousands of times slower than something like AES. You would never, ever want to encrypt a big video file with RSA. It would take ages.
So what does modern technology do? It gets the best of both worlds. We use that slow, powerful, asymmetric encryption for one tiny job, to securely agree on a brand new, temporary, symmetric key. Once we both have that key, we switch over to lightning-fast AES for the rest of the actual conversation. It's brilliant. All right, so now we can have a secret conversation, but how do we know the message we received is the one that was actually sent? How do we know it wasn't tampered with? For that, we need one more tool in our crypto toolkit: hashing. Hashing is different from encryption. It creates a unique, fixed-sized digital fingerprint for any piece of data, and it's a one-way street. You can never get the data back from the hash. Its whole job is to verify that nothing has changed. And this allows us to do something really cool: create digital signatures. Here's how it works. The sender creates a hash of the message. Then, and this is the genius part, they encrypt that small hash with their private key. When the receiver gets it, they use the sender's public key to unlock it. They then calculate their own hash of the message. If the two hashes match, it proves two incredible things at once: authenticity, only the real sender could have created it, and integrity, the message wasn't changed one bit. So there you have it: symmetric keys for speed, asymmetric keys for the handshake, and hashing for integrity. These three pillars work together to build the foundation of all of our modern security. But remember what I said, this arms race is far from over. And really, every single time you see that little padlock icon light up in your web browser, this entire symphony is playing out in the background, all in a fraction of a second. Asymmetric keys set up the secure channel, a symmetric key is agreed upon to encrypt all the data, and hashes are used to make sure everything arrives exactly as it was sent. It's happening constantly. We've come such a long way, from simple pen and paper letter swaps to these incredibly complex and robust algorithms we have today. But that race just keeps on going, and the next great challenge is already looming on the horizon: quantum computing. The reason people in this field are so focused on quantum computers is that the math that makes our asymmetric encryption strong, specifically the fact that it's really, really hard for a normal computer to find the prime factors of a huge number, well, a powerful enough quantum computer could theoretically solve that problem with terrifying ease. It could shatter the very foundation of the security we use for pretty much everything. And so that brings us to the final critical question. As the code breakers are developing these new quantum weapons, the code makers are already in a mad dash to build the next generation of quantum-resistant cryptography. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. In this constant, unending arms race, what will that next generation of security even look like? And how will it keep us safe in the future?